All right, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video, we're going to look at the round 15 preview. So, looking at the most popular trade options for this week, captaincy options, as well as, I guess, our trades for the week. So, I just realised I'm not on the right page just yet. Let's get into the players section. Bit slow here at the moment. So, in terms of the most popular trades, I guess if we start with actually let's go trade it out because I guess there's a couple of big outs this week. Top of the list there, you can see Nathan Cleary, and I think that's pretty much a no-brainer. Out for 6 weeks, you know, holds 850k, which can get you any other halfback in the game. Yeah, I think that's a pretty smart decision. Dylan Brown, number 2 on the list there. So has been confirmed that he's been stood down, is due to appear in court in 3 weeks. So absolute minimum time off there. So I think given one of his main purposes was buy coverage, and secondly, obviously he has the ability to score big. Does mean he has a lot of money on his name. So again, I think a wise decision to get out of the trade. David Fafita, so another gun. He's got a lot of money on him. I'd actually suggest holding. He wasn't going to play next week anyway, so even if he is missing the next 2 rounds, missing this week, obviously will miss round 16. You'd expect him to be back in round 17, and his price, while it will dip, I don't think it will be a massive drop in price. So, if you're wasting 2 trades to trade him out, trade him back in over the course of 3-4 weeks, you might wait post Origin. I don't think he's going to be that big of a discount. So, you know, if you haven't got Theory and Brown, um, there is an argument to use the money, but I think given the amount of people who had Nathan Cleary, I'd actually suggest holding David Fafita. Cam Murray, so out injured, has obviously not been his usual self in terms of Supercoach this year. So I think, yeah, it's a good time to get off. Obviously, he's lost a lot of value, but sometimes you just have to cut your losses and move on. Tom Gilbert, season-ending injury, so he is definitely a trade out. Isaiah Katoa, has done his job for us, but definitely a trade out. Jack DeBellin, I didn't realise he was injured. So head knock, so he's missing this week. He won't play next week with the bye. But with such a negative break, or such a high break even, and the fact that there's so many good options around that price in the front row, second row positions, I think that's a fair trade out. Tyrone Peachy, so I think he's a hold. Um, you'd assume that Stephen Crichton's going to play in the next Origin game. I know Latrell could be back. A couple of other sort of factors there with Turbo will be back. Yeah, a couple of moving parts where Crichton might miss, but chances are that Peachy will find his way somewhere onto the back line. Brian Toto will definitely be in, so they'll need to find at least one backline replacement. They may go for a specialist winger, or worst case scenario, they may have to just push Crichton out a bit. So I'd still hold and see if he's not named next week, you can always trade then. Latrell Mitchell at number 9, so I guess is going to miss the next couple of rounds. Similar sort of story to Fafita, I think. The difference being, they only get 2 fullback slots, so I think you really want to try to use them for, there's at least 3 really nice options that you can use in that spot at the moment. So I think, if he's not available, that's fair enough. Trade out. And Zach Hosking, so another popular trade out. I think the fact that he plays next round means he's potentially a hold if you do have him. But if you can upgrade, then absolutely, I'd do that. In terms of the trade-in options, so I guess the top two are the two best options for trading out for Nathan Cleary. It's Mitchell Moses and Sean Johnson. So I did talk about these guys a bit in the stock market video that came out yesterday. But essentially, um, Johnson doesn't play next round, but neither does Nathan Cleary anyway. Nathan Cleary wasn't going to play anyway, so you're not missing out there. Moses obviously covers next weekend. Does have a bye in round 18 though, so it sort of works out much of a muchness. It really just comes down to personal preference. So Sean Johnson will save you about 100k, and if they're going to get sort of similar scores over the time, then obviously that's the value play. But I can understand both those being good options for Cleary. John Bateman at number 3. So, he finally had a nice sort of spike game to get his cash generation going. Season average isn't so bad. So, supreme buy coverage, he's a really nice pod option for the run home, although I guess 7.4% of, is that trades or the playing population? Probably the amount of trades, I would have thought. So very popular. I guess, he won't be a super pod much longer if that continues. Cody Walker, so seems like the obvious play for Dylan Brown. Yes, there's rumours that he could be in the Origin side, which would obviously further diminish his coverage over the next few rounds. We did talk about in the stock market video that Souths haven't had a bye yet, so even if you include round 19, Cody Walker's going to miss 3 of the last 13 rounds. So whether, he can outscore those that are more available in that time, is a decision you need to make. Nico Hines. So obviously if you don't have Cleary, you get Hines in. That's pretty straightforward, but I know most people have Hines and Cleary, which is why the other options are more popular. Kyle Matangi. Yep, so in the same boat as Johnny Bateman, just with less good buy coverage. But yeah, I do like that. If you can upgrade a Hosking or a Cam Murray, I think that's a really good pick. Britton Nikora, so I don't think I need to say again how big a fan I am of his game. Get him in if you haven't got him. Kareem Buller, ditto. Big Tino, yeah, I love this trade. He is definitely the number one forward target for me this week. Um, doesn't play round 16, but that's the Titans' last bye round. Obviously, doesn't play round 19 either. But I mean, if he can cover with 13 in those rounds, he'll probably outscore every other option, Payne Haas excluded, potentially, over the remaining time in this season. And Nick Meaney, fullback that kicks goals, we always tick that off, particularly if we're trading him into our centre wing. So, the trades, there's a lot of activity this week, which is always great. In terms of the coaches, so if you have a look at all the coaches, you'll see there's still quite a lot on the Nathan Cleary train, including myself, obviously. I haven't updated the trades yet. um, so it's probably better if we look at the top 10%, I guess, and particularly for me being in the top 10% at the moment, is probably more relevant. And when we do that, you can see, there's definitely a bigger push for the likes of Cody Walker, Mitchell Moses. So I think these represent more valid options. Obviously, the popular choice is Nico Hines. With Cleary out of the way, you lock in your gun halfback as captain. Makes sense. But yeah, Cody Walker against the Dragons, they're not setting the world on fire at the moment. Mitchell Moses against the Bulldogs, you could say likewise. Although as a Dogs fan, I think they deserve a bit more respect than that. Um, Alex Johnston against the Dragons as well. So I guess people predicting he's going to score a few tries. Otherwise, I don't know why you would captain him. Jermaine Osako, with his average, it's probably a fair shout. And then we're getting into the real sort of pod territory after that. In terms of vice captaincy options, Cody Walker's number one. Makes sense. He's the second most popular captaincy option. Plays before Nico Hines. So you'd expect, particularly in the top 10% or so, people are trying to take advantage of the loophole. Dream Buller, so plays in the first game of the round, so very popular pick. Jermaine Osako, the fact that he is that upside potential type player, plays fairly early in the round. That does make sense. Tom Travojevic, so I guess he's back, so he's always a good shout, particularly as a vice captain. Alex Johnston, again, a popular choice. Nico Hines, so I was going to say perhaps it'd be people going him into Mitchell Moses, but that won't work as they're both halfbacks. Not sure who they would captain in that case. Maybe real pot options there. And then Ruben Garrick and Joey Manu at over 2%, but yeah, that's definitely more of a pod type move at that point. So I guess that's the overview of what everyone else is thinking. So now it's a question of what I'm thinking, and I'm going to take a slightly different approach to this. So I guess the knee-jerk reaction was to get out of Nathan Cleary, um, and I guess initially as well, I was looking at Wiremu Greg's out for the season, so I need to get rid of him. And I also thought maybe I'm a chance of upgrading from Jackson Ford, so I did hit the boost button. Jackson Ford out, and if I swing Peachy like that, Manu like that, and initially the plan, if it ever wants to work, was to bring in Cody Walker, Sean Johnson. No, sorry, not Sean Johnson. No, not Cody Walker either. Tommy Turbo, wasn't it? Yeah, so move um, Ponga up, Tommy Turbo in, and Big Tino. And I thought if I could make those moves, that would be perfect. But I was just a bit short, so that dream went out the window. I guess then also the news that Dylan Brown was out did make that adjustment. And so I guess what I'm now thinking is Dylan Brown out. Excuse me. And with a lot of DPP because I want to get Peachy into the second row essentially. Get Ponga up in there now. So in one trade, I can do all of that goodness and get in Tom Travojevic. And then, because I've still got a fair bit of money in the bank, I can go Wiremu Greg. I wanted to trade him. It's got frozen. I think I might have to start again. Oh no. All right. Is it gonna? Yep. Okay. So yeah, so Dylan Brown out, all the DPP swings. It's just gonna completely have a meltdown on me. All right, maybe I can do the other trade. Get at least one trade done. Tino, why won't it let me do DPP stuff? Oh, yeah. So, well, essentially, I guess the move is I'll just do. I can't even do Ponga. Get in there. Maybe that'll make it easier. No. So yeah, so it's going to be Dylan Brown out for Tommy Turbo via Kalen Ponga, and obviously, rotating these guys around. So Joey Manu ends up in the centres. Schuster will be at 5'8", and Peachy will be in the second row. So then I open up that swing with Lemuelu. And then we're Greg just straight up to Big Tino. And then what that means is I'm not actually going to trade Cleary this week, which might seem a bit crazy, but I can't shake the fact that if he's playing next week, I really want to get Matt Burton in because that will save me a trade when it comes time to get Cleary back in. I won't just have to trade out the halfback. I can slide him into the 5'8" spot and get rid of a Schuster or a Ponga or whoever it is that needs to go. So that's the thinking behind not using the final boost. Is that I can afford to hold off on that trade for a week and just assess, particularly, does Moses get another shot at the Blues jumper? Um, you know, Probably not, you would have thought, but I guess, having that dual position is the preference, but it's probably not worth it if Burton's in the Origin team. Means he misses 3 of the next 4. So he only played 2 of the next 5. So, yeah, so it's not a chance I'm willing to take. I'll see if I go back and do it again real quick. This is what I get for trying to do it at work. Doesn't want to do it for me. Here we go. Now we're moving in a positive direction. Oh, what? No, it's not what I pressed at all. So all the DPP swings, getting everyone back where I want them. Turbo. Nice. We're Greg Fatino. Alright. And so then I guess how we line up this week. Alright, so we've got Harry Grant will start. Big Tino. Well, actually, Payne Haas is going to have to go on the bench because Tino, Joey, Tohu all play in the first 2 games of the round. So we get out of Robson. Okay, so Fafita swaps with Ford. As Preston plays on Monday. Cleary and Hines swap. So get out of that. Blake Wilson swaps with Gary. And then Joey Manu and Tom Trbojevic are our other reserves. So, that's a pretty decent 17, even without a second halfback this week. We can definitely live with that. And also, if we do have a look at next week, we've got Robson, Edwards, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5. No halfbacks, but that's okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You'd imagine Blake Wilson will come in for um, Josh Adokar. 12 with Buller. Obviously, Turbo is probably going to play Origin. So, we've got 12 players. We can obviously work out who we want to replace Cleary with next week. Also, it could be a case of trading out Jackson Ford. He's probably the one I am looking to trade out to. And the player I'll target is Samuela Fainu. So obviously I could bring him in this week. but then I'd probably rather play forward this week. It's only because he's not playing next week that I'll look to downgrade. You know, I've missed out on a bit of cash because of the -7 break even. But honestly, when I look at my side, there's more than enough money there. You know, if we go through the side, it's literally only Blake Wilson that's under 390k. Like Schuster's slightly under 400k. Otherwise, I would have said 400. So there's still like a bit of money on the likes of Alamotti, Tyrone Peachy. So to make those final upgrades, I don't need to worry so much about cash generation. This will purely be a playing number next week, but also I guess will help balance out my front row forward a bit. I don't need three guns in the front row. Tarpany will swing back here, obviously. Um, and yeah, I think, that'll be good enough for next week. If Burton's playing, it'll probably be Cleary to Burton, another trade. But that's fine. We've got enough trades, got enough money. We're all set. So in terms of vice captain and captain, vice captain on Buller. Um, yeah, just loving the kids' work and captaincy on Hines. Just keep it simple. No need to go too different this week. So that's the round 15 preview done and dusted. If you've got any thoughts on the team, my trades, you want to tell me how dumb it is to hold Cleary on the bench, feel free to do so in the comments. I'd love to hear from everyone. If you are enjoying the content, remember like the videos, subscribe to the channel. Loving all that interaction as well. And other than that, I will catch you in the next one.